Hello, and today is the start. Today is the start of a new race, and a race at least so far the one I'm most anticipated for. The Volta Comunitat Valenciana. I completely butchered that, but I think it'll be quite an interesting race. With a very strong start list, and with my favorite rider, Mikel Landa. I know he's very on and off as a rider. He can perform really well and do top threes and podiums in Tour de France. And then the next race, he DNFs 3 stages in or halfway through the stage if it's a single stage race. Um, let's go onto the start list to see exactly who is in it. You have Vlasov, who's big one for Bora. For Jumbo Visma, a big rider will probably be Koen Bouwman. Or Sam Omen. I put Sam Omen in my fantasy cycling team for this race, as well as Vlasov, I believe. Of course, I put Mikel Landa in mine because he's my favorite rider. But UAE are pulling a very strong team with not sure who's going to be their leader because McNulty might be, but he's been quite poor. You got Marc Soler and you got Rafael Maika. Those are the possibilities. And then Ineos have a strong team with Carlos Rodriguez and Theo Gegenhardt and Castroviejo and Timon Arensman. These are very strong. This is a lot stronger start list than I remembered. You have Mikel Landa and Bilbao for Bahrain. I hope Mikel Landa will be the leader. And then you've got Kenny Elisand and Chicone and Bauke Mollema for Trek. This is very strong. This is what I'd seen. I would hope to see in a World Tour race, like a World Tour stage race, like a Paris Nice or whatnot. Intermarché, go for Binyam Girmay, I believe. Girmay, don't know, depends on how you say it, but he'll probably be their leader. It might be slightly too mountainous for him. Rui Costa might go for like breakaway wins or whatnot. Movistar have a very weak team. Don't really know their leader. Serrano, probably maybe their leader. Astana, David de la Cruz will most likely be their leader, with Luis Leon Sanchez being his domestique. Jaco Alula, their leader will most likely be Eddie Dunbar. He's aiming for a top 10, but not more than that, really, with how many strong riders there are in this start list. Alexander Kristoff is going to be in this race. It'll be interesting for X. Don't really have a strong lineup here. No team really has a especially strong lineup, except for like the big ones. You Bahrain, your Ineos, UAE, Jumbo. Jumbo doesn't even have that strong a lineup. They've got Sam Omen as their leader, so I wouldn't really consider them as a strong start list at least. Compared to Bora, Ineos, UAE, Bahrain, you can almost say Trek have a strong lineup with Bakuman and Machikone and Edison, so I'd say Astana maybe a bit with David de la Cruz. I just kind of like him. I know he's a bit mid, but I kind of like those kind of like they're good. They're like very strong hill or mountain climbers. They're not like the top. They're like secondary level. They're like secondary tiers, second tier almost, or even third tier. I like those ones because I like when they pull upsets, and also I just usually they have a style that I really enjoy. Like they are attacking and everything. So yeah, or defensive or whatnot. So yeah, today's going to be a very good race. It's already started. It's just over halfway through. I think they're around the climbing part of this stage, of the first stage of this race. It might be for this more of the sprinters. I think today's like the least amount of climbing this whole race. So if it's for sprinters, it'll be this one. But there's like two very harsh climbs, which if someone attacks or there's big power being released by the peloton, then it'll be difficult for the sprinters. But we'll see. It's going to be a good race. Hoping I'm not expecting Mikel Landa or Bahrain because I do like Pello Bilbao a lot, but I get conflicting, I guess, feelings because he's a rider I love. He's in my one of my favorite teams as well, but there's Mikel Landa who's actually my favorite rider, and so there's a conflicting feeling like, and they're like fighting for the main leader status in the team. Really, those two. Um, Pello Bilbao has definitely a lot more consistency, but I'd say Mikel Landa on his best day is better than Bilbao on his best day, in my personal opinion. Especially for like mountains and also hills too. Mikel Landa doing a top punchy, doing a top three in the classic at the end of last season. On his best day, I think he's probably better than Pello Bilbao, but he's just consistency. Pello Bilbao is one of the best outside of the Pogacars and all the big names, Vingegaard. But he's probably one of the most consistent riders, I'd say. It's gonna be a strong, strong race. I'm very excited for it. Then you've got some other punchy races following that with Volta in the Tour of Portugal, and then some other ones. I think there's another Spanish race, and all happening in the same week as well. And the French race, Tour des Alpes, will be quite interesting. Des Alpes Maritimes. So all that happening in one week. I'll try and follow at least one, depending on my time and everything. But really, it'd probably be just one throughout, and then I could discuss during my watch long about previous races, or I could start earlier and discuss the other races before the stage or the race starts. And then after that, there's the UAE tour, and then after that, it's all the classics, followed by Paris Nice, and then going back and Tirreno Adriatico, and then going back again to the classics after that. And then you've got really the stage races after these classics, the stage races that prepare riders for the Grand Tours. And then you've got Giro, then you've got again stage races preparing for Tour de France, and then you've got stage races preparing for Volta, which I really like that system. I really like that system in road cycling that there's these like quite big stage races a few weeks before the Grand Tours. Like you have Critérium du Dauphiné before the Tour de France and Tour de Suisse, and then you've got a few before the Giro and everything. I really like that. I think that's a really, I think that I really like a lot about about road cycling a lot, and stage racing. But yeah, today and this week, at least for the rest of this week, it's gonna be strong, um, strong race with a lot of good riders. I'm just waiting for the live footage. Now they're going through all the um, introduction, I guess, to the race. And yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a very good race. I'm very excited. You've got huge names in here. Riders who are aiming to at least get podiums of Grand Tours with the likes of Vlasov and Mikel Landa and Peo Bilbao, all of them at least aiming, I'm guessing, for podiums at Grand Tours. You've got many. You got a few others. You had, I think, for Grand Tours there'll be either aiming top 10 or stage wins. If you if you can't aim for top 10, then you go for stage wins. But then I think it's back to the live feed now. I think they're still on the climb here. Peloton's still quite big. I don't know if it's everyone. It's 60 kilometers to go. It's going to be a good race. Who's controlling it? Again, it's very difficult to know which one's Bahrain and which one's Ineos because they literally have the same kit. And this is the first time you can find this difficulty. But it's actually being controlled by both Bahrain and Ineos, this Peloton and Bora. Unsurprisingly, probably the teams with the three best lineups, I guess, start list. So here you go with Bahrain, Bora, and Ineos really pulling this peloton, as well as Intermarché. They don't really have many climbers as much. I don't know who their leader is because you got Binyam Girmay. He's such a big name now that he's not just gonna be in a race just because of his name. You know, he's such a good rider, strong rider as well. You know, you're not gonna waste him on a race where he's not gonna win anything. So, are they actually trying to push Binyam Girmay to win this race? I think it's slightly too punchy for me. A bit too. I mean, climbing. I think it's a bit too much climbing. Maybe he's going to show his climbing abilities in this race because every day there's climbing, and I think it's like tomorrow, and I think it's after tomorrow the Queen stage race where it's gonna be crazy finish. I'm hyped to see that. Oh, Mikel Landa's at one near the front of this peloton. That's not a great sign because that means he'd probably not be leading this race. Oh my god, I'm not extreme. But UAE, there's a UAE rider that tried to attack here from the peloton, but Bahrain just kept the attack at bay, yeah. Finally a race, because before I had all these small one-day races, almost pre-season-esque race. This is still kind of a pre-season, but it's kind of a step closer into the real season, I guess. So yeah, now you really have all the big teams and big riders, big teams that are controlling this peloton. I don't even think there's a breakaway in this stage, from the looks of it, which is surprising. Maybe just too mountainous for there to be a breakaway, or a lot of the teams are aiming to do well in GC, therefore not really putting a lot in breakaway. I'm surprised not the smaller Spanish Conti Pro and Pro teams have put some of their riders in breakaway, unless they did and they've been caught up quite early. Wow, this peloton is literally strung in a single file line there. Everyone's right behind each other. That is cool. But it's being pulled by Bahrain and Ineos, followed by Bora and then UAE. Yeah. It's really those teams, but especially Bahrain here with two riders at the very front here. Who are they? Don't 100% know. Maybe Mikel Landa might be one of them. I think he's the one on the wheel. He's a very good downhill rider. He's not the best, but he's a strong downhill rider. He probably puts too much. He goes a bit too much in the danger zone going downhill. Like he's not like unlike Matej Mohoric that he's comfortable even in the most dangerous downhill sections or whenever he wants to do the most dangerous moves going downhill, he's comfortable doing that. And Mate Moric, man, he's the greatest downhill rider. Yeah, Bahrain have a very strong line. They don't have like superstars, except for maybe Mikel Landa and maybe Pedro Bilbao, but I think they kind of built Pedro Bilbao. I don't think it was like a superstar when they got him. He had potential, but he was not a superstar like Mikel Landa. So yeah, Bahrain's full of strong but not superstar riders. Or at least they built them to become superstar riders, like Mate Mohoric. He was known, he had potential, but he wasn't as big as he is now, known as like the best descender in the world on a bike. And he had Pale Bilbao, he was known for being a decent climber, but now he's a world class and elite climber. And almost a GC because he's kind of good at time trials as well. Which is okay. Now going back to the race, talking a lot about Bahrain, just because they're a fascinating team for me. We're going back to the race. They're going downhill now, and Bahrain are in charge of this peloton here with two of the riders at the front. And Bahrain clearly are going downhill very, very quickly at the front of this peloton because I think the peloton has been broken up a bit here. There's a small separation, but was I think generally everyone is there, but there's a small separation. There's a very small separation. There's like six, seven riders, and then there's like a small separation between those six, seven riders and all the other riders behind. It's going to be a good race. I won't be able to stay long after this stage because I've got an appointment. So depends on how fast they finish this. Because there was one day, I think it was the there was one stage where it went really fast, a lot faster than I thought it would. Like, it only lasted 50 minutes, at least the live part of it only lasted 50 minutes. And I was shook. I thought it was going to last a bit longer. Like, my live only lasted just over an hour. I was thinking it would last more like an hour and a half or so. So, this race could be promising. As Bahrain still at the front of this peloton, pushing downhill here. It's just packed with Ineos and Bahrain at the very front here. Oh, and this gap. No, it hasn't increased really. That small gap I mentioned previously. Not even like a second or two. Especially going downhill, it's probably only a second maximum. Yeah, it's Bahrain and Ineos. You just see red at the front. It's now Ineos are red. So much better when they were their sky. This sky show was so iconic, almost as iconic like as the movie Star kit. Now they just and they're changing almost every year. It's not that nice. I don't like a team that, at least in cycling, not like football. I don't like it when a team changes every year. Okay, like I think they should change every 3 years. The kit, like the color and just generally the aesthetic, because then they're not memorable. I guess you they're not ingrained in your head. The colors of the team and everything. Ineos have completely changed the. It used to be blue and black, and now it's red, orange, yellow, and black. But more like red, orange, and black, really. I guess Movistar used to be green and black. Now it's blue and black. Well, it's been blue and black now for over 5 years, I'd say. Maybe about 5 years. Now 51 kilometers to go after this downhill. Went very quickly, 10 kilometers. We went by, so we're going downhill. Let's see the route to see kind of where they are. They're about to start the last climb. So this really could be just for the sprinters. I'm looking at the route. It's kind of definitely the one of the smallest elevation gains. It's not much, but yeah, it's definitely the start of the last climb-ish. So I'm expecting sprinters, if they survive this climb of about a few, like 10 kilometers. Yeah, this climb in general is about no more. Starts in about a few kilometers and it lasts for about, I think, guesstimate South climb before it just goes down. To be honest, it's a very, very steep downhill after the climb for like a kilometer or two, 2 kilometers, I'd say, plus. But yeah, the climb lasts in itself around 8 or so kilometers, I'd say. Close to 10. As now it's the Intermarché, who are team that are pulling in this peloton, starting this, well, preparing, I guess, for this climb here. It's Intermarché rider, not Benim Girmay, followed by Movistar. Here's O2. That's O2 sponsor Movistar as well now. I did not know that. On their sleeve sponsor. This peloton, I don't think has really been reduced today. So either they're just going to be going slowly up this, and this race is going to be decided on the sprint, or the reason why the peloton has probably not even. No one's really been dropped from this peloton since the beginning of the race, I think. So it's because they could be preparing for an attack on this final climb. That would be very interesting, especially then going on that downhill, that very steep downhill section. But then the ending is flat, really. Yeah, the last 4 kilometers are completely flat. But to be honest, realistically, the last 10 kilometers or so are flat. So today is definitely not one of the most entertaining, probably the least entertaining one of them all. I don't know, maybe there's another day that's even, it's not as entertaining as well. But luckily, one of the least entertaining, even though they're all entertaining, just the one that's least entertaining is the first one, so we can get rid of that one early. But yeah, again, like previous day races, when I'm not talking much is really because nothing really much is happening, and as I said, I'm only going to probably do some extra research, maybe, because I have other things that are coming up that are quite important. So I don't think I have time to do a lot of research, but if I can, I will. For like the bigger races, like UAE World Tour races, that includes classics. That's gonna be then it's gonna be a period of time. There's gonna be loads of research I have to do because of all the classics, beginning and mid season. around between the quarter and a half, the end of the first quarter of the season, I'd say classics are. The Grand Tours are really the second half of the season, so the third and fourth quarter. Marc Soler seems to be trying to go for the points. I believe he's got 6 mountain points, Marc Soler, today. I forgot Tiemann Arensman is at Ineos, even though I just saw the start list less than half an hour ago, like 20 minutes ago. I just still see him as DSM. That's very good signings because they lost Adam Yates. That's very like for like Ace if he continues his quality of last year and so on. If he keeps on improving as much as he improved last year, then it could be a like for like replacement. But Timo Arizman isn't going to lead World Tour races, especially when you've got Bernal, who might be getting better. You've got Felipe Martinez. Actually, maybe who else? They've got but Tom Pickle isn't going to lead a GC. He'll go for stage races. They're going to win stages in Grand Tours, but not go for GCs in Grand Tour. Who else? Geraint Thomas. That's the one. I was Geraint Thomas. Then you've got your secondaries like Tiemann Arensman, Theo Gegenhardt. And I think Arensman is better than Gegenhardt. I know Gegenhardt won a Grand Tour, but the weirdest Grand Tour I've ever seen in my life. But he's won one, so. There's been more bizarre Grand Tour winners. Like this Chris Horner, which I watch a lot on his YouTube. He does very good analysis of races. Chris Horner, so if you want to look at his perspective, he's kind of entertaining as well as kind of informative. His YouTube, Chris Horner. Last year he did a lot, like he did almost every stage race and classic. He'd do like a post race analysis that lasted like 15 to 20 minutes. Hasn't started yet so far for this season. Just did like a few videos here and there. He's quite enjoyable. He won, he's a rider who won La Volta, I believe, or she won one of those ones in like 2012 or something. When he was actually like the domestique for Cadel events. I know I say with a French accent because I kind of knew him when I used to live in France. I'd always say his name with a French accent, so that stays the same. Cadel events. Cadel events. I go back to the race. Just was talking during this flat part before the climb. I think the climb is about to start very soon. Looking at it doesn't show how many kilometers left, but peloton has not changed whatsoever. I think almost everyone's in it, almost, because it looks like maybe the odd rider has probably been dropped. Probably like the sprinters. But it does look like all of them are still there. Held up again, well, not held up, or led by Bahrain team. You've got Intermarché as well at the front. Bahrain, Intermarché. Chico Alula is at the very back of this peloton. A lot of the riders at the back here. Oh, yeah, they got 3 riders at the back here. I think one rider is having a bit of gear difficulty here. Difficulty with his gears. I think it's the other gear my because Chico Lula has, I think they're brothers or something. The other gear my rider, not Binyam, I think it's his brother. or at least relative. I think he's struggling at the back. I think he's got a gear problem, it looks like it. He's pedaling like crazy, and he's not moving fast. The helicopter camera is panning back. Oh, I guess there is a group behind. I guess that's all the groups that have been dropped. And funny enough, they're all pro Contis. I didn't know. It didn't look like there was anyone dropped because the peloton looked still quite big. It felt like it was maybe one or two, but this is like a real group that's been dropped here. But they're all Conti Pro riders, from the looks of it. Conti Pro teams have been dropped, so nice. Well, nice to see because, as I said previously, these last couple of races, Conti Pro team seems to be performing better than World Tour teams, which I was a bit shocked. So it's nice to go back to norm and see an attack from Bahrain victorious rider at the very start of this climb. I think this is the very beginning of the climb, and there's an attack from a Bahrain victorious rider. I think there's two Bahrain riders that have attacked, but they've got easily caught back by, I think, the Bora team. Is there going to be another attack anytime soon? I think the peloton are pushing a bit too hard here for an attack to be made. Is this really the climb? This climb doesn't look big or dangerous or anything like that at all. From at least the helicopter view, because I think they kind of started this climb, I believe. Yeah, but they're on a like flat area. Why are they going back on this group that has been dropped by the peloton? Why is there cameras on this group? They're all Conti Pro and Conti teams. Why? We don't care. They're not going to get back to them, especially when you've got Bahrain with all their great riders and Ineos and Bora that are controlling the peloton. I'd really be surprised if they could catch up with them. Is there any World Tour riders? I guess there's an Ineos rider in that group that got dropped. There's an Ineos rider. There's a UAE rider. There's a Bora rider. Then everyone else is Conti Pro and Conti. I guess they're probably sprinters, those who got dropped, or not as mountain. This Bahrain rider at the front, he's I know it's the same, he's just been off his saddle for a long time here, just climbing, powering this peloton through, trying to probably drop some riders. Some riders it's easy to know by their face who they are and also probably their gear, like what they're wearing, like their glasses, like Julien Philippe. Very recognizable. Pogacar is very recognizable. He's just got hair coming out of his helmet. And Mikel Landa is more of like facial features. They are quite prominent. And also his riding style. Their stature. So if he's like a midget, then you think probably Ruben Guerrero or Egan Bernal if they're in this race. If they're like bigger climbers, you'd probably think well Powell's or Jack Haig or something like that. Vingegaard, he's quite tall, right? Vingegaard. But yeah, Bahrain are just pulling on this peloton here. Don't know what the strategy is. They're pulling on this peloton. Are they going for the stage or no, not the stage? I mean GC, but to be honest, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm kind of tired right now, so I'm rambling here. This race so far being led by a Bahrain rider. I'm thinking maybe tomorrow I might put the sound on. I hope that works. And I don't get the video doesn't get striked for copyright because like you'll be able to hear the commentating. Also, as kind of begs when I looked over my first video when I put commentating for parts of it, it kind of jarred with me speaking. But then without the sound, it's very difficult for me to know really what's happening because I don't know who's who because I can't hear like commentators or anything. It's very difficult. But I think you see I think it's Kuhn Bauman. I think he might be the leader for Visma for this stage race because he's got number one on his back. Usually, riders with a number one, their back are the leaders for the races. At least where the number finishes with a one. So it'd be 21. He'd be leader for his team. Usually, not all the time. Those tactics change. But yeah, Bahrain and Ineos really controlling this. But again, their kits are so similar from the front. From the back, it's easy. From the front, they're so similar. It looks like Bahrain riders have two different types of helmets. I think very difficult to distinguish. Fred Wright, there's just an interview right now on happening right now with Fred Wright. I think he's a very good rider. Definitely very like a standout rider from last year. Not the standout. That would probably be Remco or Binyam or Wout van Aert or Pogacar and things like that. The A standout. Yeah, definitely. So my prediction of who's going to win this race, the Volta Comunitat, I'm going to go for. Actually, we'll do a podium. It's kind of easy. I'll probably put Mikel Landa third because I want him to be there. I highly doubt he's going to win this race. It's a possibility for me. I just don't think. Whenever you go a race with like some Vlasov already taking, he's not going to win the race. If you go Vlasov, I think Vlasov is better than Mikel Landa, unfortunately. Again, it's consistency that's making me say that. If Mikel Landa was able to ride his best all the time, I'd say Mikel Landa is better than Vlasov. But the fact that Mikel Landa one day could lose over a minute on Vlasov out of nowhere, it's telling me that probably Vlasov's going to win it. And then second might be a Bahrain, Ineos rider, who's going to be their leader. Is it Carlos Rodriguez or Theo Gegenhardt? You also have got Trek with Ciccone or Balcomolima or Kenny Edison, but I just don't think. I think Ciccone, at least between Kenny Edison and Ciccone, I think Ciccone is a leader. These, again, consistency. And then so who else? There's Bahrain and Ineos look like their attack, which I think is actually full Bahrain team. I think it's just a full Bahrain team at the front. It's all the Bahrain team at the front, I think. It's very difficult to freaking know because their kids are so fucking similar. That's why I didn't put. I said this video wasn't for 18-year-olds because I knew I was going to be swearing a bit at least in these watch alongs, so that's why I did that. I don't know if I can swear even though it's not for 18-year-olds, but just did it just in case. So yeah, Bahrain here in the front. They just haven't really swore a lot in these watch alongs. Maybe like twice, 3 times. But yeah, Bahrain's the whole team is at the front of the peloton now. It's just so hard to judge. And the J.K. Lula rider, the first to be dropped in this peloton. At least when the live footage first started. Um, That's Bahrain victorious. All their riders at the front of this peloton. I don't think it's. I'm starting to think that's not a great move. I think they're not pressing hard at all. Because they've got such a strong team. Look at that. That's a Grand Tour team. That's a. I don't understand Bahrain. They're not in many races. They don't put themselves in a lot of races that aren't World Tour. But when they do, they just still dump their best riders. I'll put on the lights. I think it'll be better because it's starting to get a bit dark. There you go. Much better. So yeah, uh, I think the tactic here from Bahrain, who've been leading this race the whole time, is because clearly now I think they kind of at least nearing the end of this climb. I think what they're doing is controlling the peloton, making sure no one's attacking. So then they could probably go and win it in a sprint or when they're going downhill, try and break from the peloton there or on the sprint. I think they're just avoiding other teams getting on the attack here up this climb. Make sure that no other riders from other teams are going to go on the attack on this climb. Even though they've got literally the best climbing team in this race. By country mile, you see this in the Tour de France list, the start list from Bahrain. Mikel Landa, Wout Poels, Gino Maida, Peo Bilbao, probably others I'm forgetting. Mikel Landa. So, and there's probably one that I'm missing. But yeah, just kind of Shows how strong the start this from Bahrain is, and they always do that. It seems in almost every race they just dump their best riders. As I said it 5 times probably in the last 5 minutes. To be honest, they've got an abundance of very strong climbers, which is also why I like Bahrain because their focus clearly is on climbing. But I think they're going to change that quite soon because they're realizing it's not successful. Well, it's successful, they're probably like the fourth best team in World Tour. So it's like somewhat successful. I think that they just have many tactical errors, but like the past couple of years as well. I think they're nearing the end of this climb here. It's kind of a steep area. I can see Mikel Landa. He's third wheel at the front of this peloton. I think it's. Oh, they also got Caruso. That's the other one I was missing because I think he's the one pulling at this peloton. I can see he doesn't have his glasses. It looks like a Caruso, right? I think it looks like Caruso. And Caruso has now given up on pulling for the peloton here, and it looks like it's Gino Maida who's he's telling the motorcyclist, the motor, the camera on the motorbike in front of him to just to go away, but because he wants to go faster. Yes, it seems quite often that like these motorbikes are really poor quality. It seems because they always keep on getting in cyclists' ways in front of them. They seem to go slower than the cyclists. They need to kind of change that. It seems quite often that yeah they reach the top of the climb now, led by Bahrain rider. So again, I think it's going to be either a downhill thing or leading to a sprint. So, so in general, I don't think necessarily. Wait a second, I'm just. Is it working? It doesn't sound like it's working. Ah, damn. Well, if the sound isn't working, that would be great. That's not great. Well, I'll just continue this and I'll go back on it, the live, and if there's no sound, I'll just delete it and go to the next one. It just doesn't look like it's on the sound. Is it on? Yeah. Downhill really for the next 34 kilometers. So this last 34 kilometers are going to go by quite quickly. You know what? I'm going to cut this live now just 'cause I'm really scared that this isn't working. And anyway, no one's really watching, so but I'll cut it now and just delete it and then just start tomorrow from stage 2. I know it's annoying, but anyway, nothing much would have happened in this race. Actually, why not stay the whole time? Well, no, just in case the sound is actually working, and I've been ranting for 4 minutes for no reason, but it just looks like it isn't. Let's hope it does. Is the sound working or not? Because it doesn't sound like this live is working the sound. Yeah, this race again, just in case it is working. Continue. This is Bahrain still leading this peloton, followed by the Ineos riders going downhill. They're going very quick down this hill. Clearly, their plan was probably to break away from the peloton here on this downhill. Jesus Christ. They're going very quickly downhill here. They're going at over 75 kilometers an hour. And it's like off a cliff on the right side here. It's a cliff with no barriers. It's quite dangerous. They're going at over 75 kilometers an hour. Jeez. Just very beautiful shot here of the camera from a helicopter, as you can see. Very far away, these riders going down the hill here. 30 kilometers away. I'm constantly looking at the sound because it says that it's not working, but it might it might just be a glitch or something. If it doesn't work, I'll just cut this live out and just continue tomorrow with stage 2, and then everything will go live from there. It's a bit annoying. Luckily, it wasn't the most interesting of stages. But here, again, Bahrain downhill, being leading this peloton, followed by the Ineos riders. Mm, Most likely going to be a bunch sprint from the looks of it. It's just downhill and then flat. So you think it's going to be a bunch sprint here? The shocking thing if it's someone attacks. That would be interesting and entertaining. But downhill, you can't really attack unless you're at the very front. Then you can break away from the group. So yeah, it looks like maybe Marc Soler is going for the mountain classification in this race. It appears to be that way. But few riders are getting dropped on this downhill. Not many. I think it's about 3. But was generally the majority of this peloton is still together, this downhill part. Can you hear me or not? I'll just continue. This Bahrain is still pulling on this peloton here with, I think it's Mikel Landa at the front of this group. That's nice to see. Followed by an Ineos rider, actually, on the looks of it. Or is it Bahrain? So difficult to know the difference. I think it was Bahrain. I just got mistaken there. But yeah. Okay, now they slowed down. I think they're around 50 plus kilometers an hour. At one point they were going over 75. Or to be honest, they're crossing a very, very narrow bridge. Jesus. That's very narrow. Barely a car can fit through that. As this group is really going to stay the same until the end, looks like. I'm just surprised. I'm not surprised, more confused again, like in every race. I guess without the commentating, it's just harder to really understand what's happening. But Bahrain had been pulling this whole race. The only reason I could think of it is to stop attacks from other teams. But I don't really understand why other reason. Maybe because they are the favorites and therefore they have to pull like. But you'd think there'd be a reason, an advantage, like to gain advantage. A reason, but they haven't dropped anyone. They haven't done anything, which is why I think the only reason they're pulling is to stop attacks from other teams. Because they've never tried to drop riders or anything. Now at 26 kilometers to go. Mikel Landa, I believe, is at the front of his peloton still. Bahrain still fully in control. But I think that's going to stay that way until the bottom of this downhill, and then when we're getting close to the finish line, it's going to be there going to be a lot more other teams putting their riders closer to the front to prepare for the sprint and whatnot, or attack from far. So yeah, and this is a lot nicer weather than there's been in the other races. These looks like the conditions are very nice. Blue sky, smooth place. To be honest, one of the other reasons why I love watching cycling is just in places like this is how beautiful the landscape is. Makes me kind of want to cycle up these mountains, up these climbs and whatnot. Not competitively though, because then the problem is you don't notice all this beautiful scenery when you're riding competitively. Also, yeah, it's kind of also like a travel when I watch cycling like this. It's very much like traveling because you're just seeing all different landscapes and all. The reason why I'm rambling on about this because again, there's nothing much happening in this race, at least currently. Maybe in about 10 plus kilometers there'll be something, but I'm not expecting anything to happen soon. So Bahrain again, just they do it quite often. They're just lowering the tempo of the peloton. They're avoiding it. They're trying to avoid it becoming chaotic or anything. I think. But yeah, going back because there's nothing much happening. Bahrain still at the front of the group. There's peloton going downhill. I don't think Bahrain are going to win on this in the sprint because they got no sprinters. It's fair to say. So again, I don't know why they're. I guess that's why they're pulling because a lot of other teams do have sprinters in their teams, and therefore they don't want to pull the front of the peloton because they want to keep all their riders with as much energy as possible, especially the sprinters. But there were teams with no sprinters, they got nothing to do. I guess nothing to win from this race, so therefore have the luxury of pulling on the peloton. So now thinking about it, Biniam Girmay has a huge chance of winning this stage. I hope Bahrain aren't going to play this kind of defensive and passive for the whole race. That's to be the most boring thing in the world. They're going down this steep part of this this downhill. I'd like to see what's next stage tomorrow. Let's see what that looks like. While they're going downhill, nothing really much is happening. Stage 2 is going to be a lot more climbing. That I cannot wait. I'm excited. With the finish being 7.2 kilometers, 7.2% for over 3 kilometers, with some other kind of steeper gradients, like one gradient going at 3.5 kilometers for over 8%. Hopefully that will be shown. So a lot more climbing there. But stage 4, the day with the most climbing, I believe. So stage 4 or tomorrow. But the last day is again probably the day with the least amount of climbing of all. But yeah, funny enough, I don't really. Now looking back at the profile of the race, doesn't totally look like it's going to be one for climbers necessarily, unless they attack. Because there's a lot of climbing. There's only one stage where it really kind of finishes on a mountaintop climb, a hilltop at least. I wouldn't say mountain, the hilltop. So the only way it could be for these GC climbers slash punchers if they attack up the climbs. But the problem is the climbs are, at least the last climb is still like over 25 kilometers away from the finish. At least like the top of the climb could be like over 20 kilometers away from the finish. Like 25 kilometers away from the finish or even more. However, oh yeah, Kui, she's in this race. I don't know how to spell his name. Kui, the sprinter from Jumbo Visma. To be honest, I did put him in my cycling fantasy team for this race. Because I wasn't expecting it to be really a sprinter's race, but clearly I have been terribly mistaken. From the looks of it, this is going to be a sprinter finish. Probably out of non-sprinters. Well, it'll be fun to watch a sprint finish where everyone in that sprint finish aren't sprinters. That'd be hilarious. I think they've reached near the bottom of this. Yeah, no, they got one little downhill soon, in about a couple kilometers. You've got somewhat steep downhill for a few kilometers, and then it's flat till the end. for about, I'll say about 5 kilometers, I think, that downhill area is. But yeah, this is, again, I was kind of more hoping that there'd be an attack off the climbs, but maybe a bit early in the season for seeing that kind of, to see that kind of cycling, that kind of intensity. But we're probably still in this almost pre-season phase. But again, I'm still worried about the sound. I really hope it's working. Um, Boring, still in control is again boring race. Nothing really much is happening. There's now everything's just slowed down. We're There are 20 kilometers to go. They're literally seconds away from that very steep downhill section, and it seems that everyone's just stopped. Well, not literally, but they're going up. They're going very slowly. They're going so slowly. They're not going uphill. Nothing's happening. You're going quite slowly. Oh, an attack! Oh, that's what we want to see. Yes, an attack from Astana. Oh, finally, this race was boring me to tears. Astana rider saving the day. And now I really hope the sound's working. Astana finally saving the day. My God. For that alone, I'd probably want Astana to win. It just made this race interesting. Finally, an attack. It was boring for. There's no attacks going on at all. These half-hearted attacks at best. But it's been caught up by the peloton once again. At least there was something for a few seconds there from the Astana rider. There's a glimpse of entertainment there for a few seconds there. Yeah, but now they're on the motorway here. Did they have to cut? Did they have to block that motorway? Jesus. That's a massive motorway. Now, Movistar rider is at the front of this peloton, and this camera guy doesn't know what to do. He was just filming the ground for a few seconds there. Jesus, what town is that? That's a very nice. That's beautiful town. Where are they going to? Finishes at somewhere. It's a beautiful town. What's it called? It's like, can't see. I think it's like Cal or Del or something. Captain Mighty, something like that. Just looking at, I don't know. But from that shot, it looked very nice. That's why Spain races, at least visually, are so probably. But to be honest, it's like Mediterranean ones, so Giro, also beautiful shots like that. Jesus, that town looks very beautiful from there. That shot, at least. Coastal town. City, maybe more of a town than city. Small city, big town. Well, Bahrain are no longer pulling. It's actually completely shifted since that attack. I think it was that attack that caused it from the Astana rider. Because now it's really Jumbo Visma at the front with one Movistar rider at the top of this peloton. But whilst there's three other Jumbo Visma riders behind them, completely change here. Probably leading for a sprint for Olev Koy now. We're 15 kilometers away. Did I say Oliver Koy before? It's Olav Koy. I'm just going to call him Koy. At least his second name, which is impossible to pronounce. Koy. 15 kilometers away. I think it's a lead out here preparing from Jumbo. Surely Intermarché should prepare a lead out as well for Benyam Girmay. This was a very passive stage. I guess first stages are often like that, to be honest. Most of the time they're passive. Sometimes they start with a bang, but most of the time it's just almost get the lay of strategies, of other team strategies to get the lay of the other teams, I guess. Hit the red and red. Yeah, Jumbo Visma riders at the front here. Astana have quite a few riders at the front. But Bahrain and Ineos are now around in the middle of the peloton now because they're not really interested. X. Oh, because they've got Alexander Christoph. They're also at the front of the peloton here. Where's Intermarché? They've got Benyam Girmay. Olaf Koy, Benyam Girmay, and Alexander Christoph. I'm thinking Olaf Koy should win that. It should be that Olaf Koy, Benyam Girmay, Alexander Christoph. But Alexander Christoph and Benyam would be quite a tight one. Because for pure sprinting, I think Christoph might be slightly better, but we'll see. But we just don't see Intermarché anywhere. You have Jumbo Visma and X, yeah? But Intermarché doesn't seem to exist. To be honest, Movistar have Garcia Cortina also, so they should be near the front as well. So quite a few teams have like sprinters in them. Some are thinking this will be going to sprinters. Some thinking this is going to climbers. Realistically, because there's one or two hill top finishes, they'll probably go to climbers GC wise. If those stages had climbs but weren't hilltop or mountaintop finishes, I think sprinters would win because the way at least this stage is going, no one seems to be attacking on the climbs. Yeah, we'll have Koi. Vandersand might be his lead out. Getting closer to that very nice city. So there's a few skyscrapers, or at least large apartments. They're large buildings. 12 kilometers to go. Nothing much is happening, so 12 kilometers away, that's a beautiful shot of the town. This is that beautiful island, that rock face. Just one huge rock off the coast. That town, that coastal town. Kind of reminds me of like Rio type stuff. It's a huge hill, mountain. It's just one huge rock, really. It's Mikel Landa talking to a Euskatel rider. Did Mikel Landa come from Euskatel? Or at least its predecessor. But Euskatel used to be. That is a very nice town. It's definitely a holiday town. Very nice, very pretty. X is Christoph there? Is that Christoph at the front back? It didn't look like him. Christoph is a big guy. So Mikel Landa's at the very back of this peloton. And he's wearing number 43, I believe, which is not the greatest of signs. I believe that's Mikel Landa because he's still with that Euskatel rider. Because that rider is still with that Euskatel. So now they're entering the town. Very pretty. Said it multiple times, but it's very nice. I have to go quite soon to my appointment. So really, as soon as this race finishes, won't be able to stay much longer. But you have Jumbo Visma here at the front, still with X following. And then you've got Ineos behind X. Do they have any sprinters in this race? I don't think so. I just know like big name sprinters, like pure sprinters. 10K to go. Since it's flat, it should probably last about 10 minutes. Yeah. Jumbo Visma at the front. Is it? I would like to see a stat whether, like sprints, the front lead out team, what's the percentage that the front lead out team wins the sprint stage? Or is it usually the team that are on the wheel of the front lead out or something like that? I hear X. Oh, but there's an attack from the Jumbo Visma rider for unbeknownst reasons. Jumbo Visma is on the attack. I think because there's a Nuscatel rider that has completely detached himself from the peloton. That's why the Jumbo Visma rider was trying to attack but failed. Finally, an attack that was successful. One rider from Euskaltel. Imagine it's the one that was talking to Mikel Landa. Like, you just go for it, mate. Mikel Landa, he's just talking to Euskaltel rider, say, "You got nothing left. You got nothing to lose. You're not going to win this stage on the sprint. So why not try and win it from afar?" And he's created quite a significant gap here, a few seconds. Like, I'd say 5+ seconds here, 8 maybe. Whether it's going to continue growing or it's going to go down, that's another question. But strong ride from the Euskaltel rider. He's just attacked. Again, making this race a bit more entertaining, interesting. but he's going to be caught up by the peloton, that's for sure. And also another reason why I hope the sound is working. Did Landa come from Muscatel and went to Sky, or did he literally was like born from Sky? Was he a team before Sky? Was it Astana and then he went to Sky, right? Oh my god. Mikel Landa has just been moving a lot throughout this whole season, this whole career, I mean. Was he Astana before or after Sky? I believe it was he was at Astana before. Yeah, I think it's Astana, then Sky, then Movistar, and then Bahrain. I think that's it. I know I'm a Mikel Landa fan, and I don't know that is shocking. But I've only been his fan since around 2019, 18, 19. So really around the beginning of the 2019 season. This guitar rider still very much at the front there, still away from the peloton. 6.6 kilometers left. Is it a sign? Skadi. It's just fascinating facts that's just been shown by GCN about certain monuments in that town. Which was but this is Euskaltel riders still at the front. And then there's an Euskaltel rider at the back of the peloton. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be caught up here. Even though he's trying his best to stay away. Jesus, he is. He is putting all of his power in this. Imagine he's going to be able to drop some riders from the peloton. It probably looks that way. He's 5.7 kilometers away. Yeah, Euskaltel rider is still at the back of this peloton. It's the last person in this peloton, followed by Bora. Then some Conti Pro riders. Yeah, he's going to get caught up here. It says that he's 10 seconds ahead. He's not 10 seconds. He's probably like 6, 7. Let's calculate. Yeah, I'd say he's about 6 seconds away on my personal calculations. And here they're saying he's 8 seconds. So maybe he's probably 8. No, it's 6. 4.4 kilometers, 6 seconds. Nah, he's not going to survive. Not even if it was even 1 kilometer, I don't think he would have survived. Unless the peloton are going to do what they've done in the Mallorca challenge and let this guy win. I think at this stage, at this point, I think now teams and riders are going to take things a bit more seriously. Yeah, this is going to be interesting finish here. Still has this decent gap on this peloton, this rider. Really hope the sound is working. If it isn't, I'll be really upset. What if I try something? This might. I don't know. But yeah. This rider at the front is still there. Yeah, he's going to get caught up. Yeah, he's down. He's been caught. He has been caught by the peloton. By the peloton. So I don't know why they're showing this camera angle when we're 2.7 kilometers away from the end. But we have now we've got the teams. Now we've got Intermarché, we have Movistar, we have Jumbo Visma. Where is X? They're probably right behind Jumbo Visma. You have Intermarché, Movistar, Jumbo Visma. Yeah, Intermarché, Movistar, and Jumbo Visma here. The front. Intermarché for Binyam. Jumbo for Olevkoy. Now it's Stana. Stana have joined at the front with their train. Don't know who's the rider for them for this sprint. I think I've got a tiny bit of time just to check. Quick before things happen. Stana, to be honest, I don't know about because the sprint might happen quite soon. Still the lead out going on. Just leading out. This pressure building here. All the teams are literally toe to toe here. They're perfectly poised to start the sprint. Intermarché. Oh, Astana are being blocked. They've been pushed back by Intermarché. Oh, and I believe that's Intermarché that's blocking Jumbo Visma, blocking their train. My God, they're being dirty riders here, destroying other teams' trains and blocking other teams from moving up. As now this is the attack, or at least it's the start of the sprint, 1.5 kilometers away. It's very far out, this attack. In my personal opinion, usually the attacks and at least the lead out sprints happen and latest around 800, 900 meters, but barely a kilometer. They barely passed a kilometer here. Don't even think they passed a kilometer stage yet. But it's Bahrain victorious at the front, but of course they're going to be washed up very quickly. Now they're in the last kilometer. And who is it? Is Intermarché Binyam Girmay at the front? Binyam Girmay, is he going to win? And Binyam Girmay wins. Binyam Girmay is the stage winner. That is already a success for Intermarché. Intermarché have won 3 stages. Well, 3, technically 2 races and 1 stage. But technically 3 races already this season. They are a menace. With Kobe Gosens. And now Binyam Girmay, man, he is a threat. He seemed to be all over them. There's no one even close to him. Maybe no one was close to him. Look at that replay sprint there. He was nowhere to be found, really. He was like fifth wheel. But it was a Bahrain victorious rider who led this weird sprint. And then no one seemed to join Binyam. And then Binyam just runs past the peloton from behind there, as I said. No one really even close to him, maybe. Yeah, but to be honest, he attacked from far. That's probably one of the reasons. He knew that he had more gas than all the other riders. But I think it's Olav Koy that finished second. But like a whole bike length behind him. Yeah. That's a strong win from Binyam. They've got radios even in this small races. Thought there was any World Tour races yet. Radios for. Well, that was a good race. I literally have to run now. But till next time, tomorrow, just doing last check of the stage tomorrow. It's going to be very entertaining. To be honest, next 3 days look like they could be possibly very interesting. Next 3 days until the final day, really. So you got stage 2, 3, and 4. Looks like they're going to be entertaining. Don't think those are going to be sprint races. World wins. So it's good that Binyam Girmay got this stage under the bag because he only will have the final stage left. Intermarché, man, they are a threat. They're slowly becoming a team it's already a team I really like, but my favorite team. They are just they're underdogs, and they just have won 3 races already started the season. I think they're the team with the most stage wins, or race wins / stage wins, at least in the World Tour. That's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be an exciting race. Bahrain victorious again, just led, I think, because as I stated before, they had nothing to win in this race. They have no sprinters. It's gonna come. They're gonna be very important tomorrow. But most importantly, stage 4, I think, is the big one. Stage 4. But then I think tomorrow is like the second biggest, and stage 3 is like a decent one if they attack off the final climb before the downhill to the finish. But yeah, on third stage. But tomorrow's stage 2. Some very good climbs. Hopefully some attacks. I don't have to go now. It's 4:30. I have to leave literally now. So see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll be able to do a watch along for a second stage, and hopefully everything will be better. So see you tomorrow.